Welcome back. In this week's video, we're going to be going over how to run operating system updates via Addigy. That includes Mac, iPad, iPhone, and even tvOS. So the first thing we're going to do is go over into Addigy here. And we are going to go turn on the new style of updates, which is called Declarative Device Management Updates, or DDM. Basically, what the difference between this and the old style of MDM updates is, it changes some stuff on the back end, but for us as admins, what it does is it gives us solid deadlines to be able to enforce the updates on certain timetables. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And to turn on DDM updates, what we do is we go to Account, we go to Integrations, and we're just going to click on DDM OS updates here, and we're going to turn that to enabled. Once we have that done, we can go into our policies, and you can select what policy you want to push this out to. This comes into a little bit of a strategy thing. You may want to deploy different settings to different customers if you're an MSP. You may have a group that is like a flex policy that's going and getting all of your different devices with their iPhones or iPads or Macs. So you may want to run different update schedules or different update settings for each of those. So you can create those flex policies, and then once you have those created, you can go in here, select the one you're going to use, and along the left hand side of our policy here, you're going to go to updates, and here are all the different settings you can choose from. So we're going to start with the most complicated one, which is macOS. So what we're going to do is we're going to enable macOS updates. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is always the latest version. If you're someone who wants to roll this out slower or wants to make sure you have things that get tested on every minor version update, you could come in here and put in 14.6 or 14.6.1 because that's what just came out, and make sure that would be the latest version or the maximum version that devices would get. So what I want to do for this example is make sure that all Macs are on the latest version of macOS, while still retaining some control and not letting them go to the next major version yet. So what I'm going to do is do 14.99.99, and that's going to get every update Apple pushes out that is still in version 14. Now, if you want to always keep your devices up to date, which again includes major updates, you could switch it to this box here. But for today, we're going to just do set maximum version based on that version number. In here, we now see there are two different settings for running these updates. We have our old style of running updates, which is MDM, and that works on versions 12 and 13 of macOS. And then you have the DDM updates, which works on 14 and up. For the old style, so if you may still have some devices in your fleet that are running those older operating systems, you have three options. You have default, which is going to install it based on the device's current state. You have install later, which lets the user defer it. And you can also specify the number of how many deferrals they get. Or you can force the update to go through as soon as the device gets it. Typically, the general rule of thumb is to use the default option. The whole reason they moved away from this is because this whole system was a little flaky and didn't always work and didn't always do what it said it was going to do. So generally speaking, we chose the default option, and that got us the best results while not disrupting users too much with the force install. Moving on to DDM updates. So what this does, it gives us a deeper level of control on when the updates get pushed out. So typically what I do is I say 21 days after the release at say 6 p.m., the devices are going to get updated. So that means that a user is going to get a push notification every single day saying, hey, there's an update available for your computer. You have up until this date to run it. And if they don't run it at that time, the device will force that update after 21 days. We found this to work really well. I would say that the biggest struggle we have with it is just user communication. The push notification being just the normal looking push notification, users tend to not read it or ignore it very easily. And even after 21 days, we often find that users don't update it on their own. And so when they're forced, sometimes users can get frustrated at that. Typically, when you find once you implement this, users do tend to get used to it and start looking out for it, but especially that first time you're doing this, making sure you're communicating that. Once you have your schedule there, we can move on to whether or not you want to push out beta OS updates. You can also, this does not include rapid response security updates. You can also choose to delay those by a certain number of days. I believe Apple's security's position on this is that you don't want to delay those at all. You want to have those run as soon as possible. You can also choose to run these only on a schedule. So if you have a company, say, that has some kind of events running on the weekends, you may choose to only want to run these during the weekdays. So once you have all of that set the way you want it, all you have to do is come down here, like most things in Addigy, is click Save Settings, and that will start happening on the next deployment. All the settings you'll see from here are also very similar. For iOS, we can set the maximum version or choose to keep devices updated to the latest operating system, and we can set those schedules the same way. We can do the same exact thing for iPadOS and tvOS. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about running updates, about MDM or DDM, or just Addigy in general, we'd love to help you and your business come up with a solution for those. I can be reached at Marshall_CIT on the Mac Admin Slack channel, Marshall@cranstoninc.com via email, or at cranstonit.com. Thanks for watching.